A warm welcome to all of you. I am Ms. Gurpreet Kaur and I'll be your host for today's webinar. On behalf of Pegasus Wellbeing Club, thank you for joining us with the third webinar in our parenting series. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Ms. Bhumika Ma'am, whose expertise in early childhood education has inspired many parents to understand the true power of play in a child's development. Today's topic is more than a play. How play builds thinking, creativity, and confidence. Without further delay, I invite Bhumika ma'am for this. And warm welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to challenge one of the biggest myths in parenting. It is just entertainment, or it is actually the most powerful form of learning your child can experience. Hosted by Pegasus Wellbeing Club, join us as we reimagine what learning really looks like. Over to you, Bhumika ma'am.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet. A warm welcome to everybody. It's such a pleasure to always come in front of the children, the parents, that what and how we can work with the children to make learning better. So let's start with a quick poll today. We all have gone through this, and I think that's the question we normally ask our children always, or we normally say these words to the children. So one of these points I'm sure we must be using with our children is like, finish your homework first and then we will go to play. Let's play later. Maybe we will play after we've done this task. Or maybe the response is that the child says that I want to play outside, I want to do some games. We always say, no, 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 we can't play right now. So I think let's for a minute stop here, Gurpreet, and let parents tell us that, what they actually do out of these 3 points.
Yeah,
Yes,
very.
ma'am, I say finish your homework first, then only you can play.
Wonderful. Harsh, as a parent, would want to say that
Oh, wow.
she will always tell her child that finish your homework first and then we will go and play.
Sure.
So, I thank you so much, parents, for polling in. So, I feel that play can be in different ways. So, Gurpreet, we all feel that play is only going for football, going for badminton, going for maybe some outdoor activities. But honestly, play is not that only. That is not true. So, while we are reading, we are also building vocabulary, we are building comprehension and imagination. So it's such a wonderful way of interacting with the child while reading. Reading is also one form of play. Why do we say that? Because when a child is reading a book, they see a lot of colors, right? When they see a lot of letters, they are trying to imagine and build more words. So that's a kind of play. Then, if I say we are talking about puzzles, so when they are solving a puzzle, they are playing with those, different blocks, or maybe setting up those puzzles. So that is practicing logical thinking, and that is also spatial thinking. So like, when you if I remember playing, stapu, or playing outdoors when we used to jump over a rope, so we used to say that is spatial learning. So when they're doing puzzles, that is also spatial learning. So play can be in indoors also, so like a board game. So board game, yes, definitely, I say that normally a parent says this is a form of play, but that's also, I think, very less in the market now, because as we said it in our webinar too also, that mostly parents have started giving phones to the children, and where the children, and definitely about me social media and playing comes with these PS4 and PS5. So children are playing through those games. So all video games are over screen. So I don't think that should be the way. I think still we should have the essence of playing with board games. That's a very, very important thing. Can I ask everybody here, as you all are coaches, so we can ask you that, where do you think in these three things play is appropriate? By what activity do you think all these three things can encourage play?
Ma'am, according to me, reading is also a play. Right, a child is getting into a lot of imagination, and he can imagine, if I, for example, if I talk about a unicorn is flying, he can fly. Right, he can enact for that in reading too. Then
Yes,
if I go
absolutely.
with a puzzle is again a sort of playing.
Mhm.
The child will be a logical into a play. Then if we talk is board game is actually itself is a game play.
Definitely. Any other form you feel, Harsh, Sanjana, we can talk about, through puzzles and games?
Ma'am, through puzzles and games, we can learn a lot of things. For example, dominoes or vocabulary. So these puzzles increase, you can say, linguistic skills of the child also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're absolutely right. So, as we all said correctly, that indoor play isn't less. So, it's very important that when the children are playing board games, they learn taking turns, counting, strategy, practicing numbers, also sportsmanship. So, when we talk about sportsmanship, I think everybody says, no, 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 it's about going outside and playing cricket or football or any other activity. But definitely when we are playing board games also, there is sportsmanship. So if I talk about puzzles is problem solving, spatial reasoning, focus. So all these things also are a part of play, because when we talk about, again, games, we have to focus a lot. And then blocks, I love the aspect of children learning blocks in the classroom, because with blocks they are engineering a lot of thinking. They are creating towers, they are making a road. So with blocks they can do multiple concepts, multiple way of making things in their own creative way. So then art is also a form of play. So when we talk about art, it is about emotional experience, expressions, imagination, fine motor skills. So all these are a part of play, right? And then we talk about pretend play, as Barkha just said, that pretend play is definitely a part of play, because when they are reading they are also doing role play, and that's a form of play. So why do we say board games matter? So take a Ludo, for example, right? Before we rush to a list of benefits, I just want to ask that what skills does Ludo actually teach? I think I've listed those things here. So as I said, taking
Right.
turns, right? Counting, planning, patience, and sportsmanship. Anything else anybody would want to add here?
I
Ma'am,
think
acceptance of
strategy.
losing.
Yeah. What else? Sanjana was saying something.
Acceptance of losing is important. Right.
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying that Ludo also helps us in forming strategies, or
Oh, yes, of course.
just seeing where the other players
Yes,
thing
absolutely.
is and all
Wonderful.
of that.
Wonderful, absolutely. When and this happens normally when we talk about playing on the ground. It's always good to learn about strategies. So when we are doing Ludo, we want to see where is the other person, and then only we can create a strategy that, okay, now I have to get a two on the dice so that I can move and cut his piece. So that's so important. right? So then comes why puzzles matter. So again, can anybody list me some of these? Like I've written, try again, fail, reflect. Any other thing where you feel that we can talk about puzzles?
Ma'am, it creates more of imagination. I mean, suppose this piece has to be attached there, then what the shape of the other will be connected with that.
Absolutely. Again, we are talking about the shapes and curves of the puzzle. And sometimes we also do, knob puzzles. That is so much good for a child to understand how I can place that knob puzzle on a right place. So that's also a part of play. So that's so important. When a child fails to place it on the place, he will try again, right? So it's so important for a child to understand that I haven't failed, I can try again. And then when the reflection comes, when the child has done it, and then he can understand, okay, I've completed one puzzle. So it's such a beautiful thing to have a child complete the puzzle. And I'm sure you guys have been doing puzzles and games in your product list. So already you know how children get excited when they finish a puzzle, right? So now I would also want to mention here that what we have seen and what does research tell us, it is that play strengthens your thinking, your problem solving. Uh, Play, as in, I'm not now talking about only indoor play here, I'm talking in respect to general play, right? So it's very important for every parent to understand that they should know what routine they should have, where play is always a very important part, right? Why? Because as I said, thinking is there, language is there, movement is very important. And normally in physical play we talk about movement, and then relationship. Why do we say relationship? Anybody?
Sometimes you co-play together, so it
Yeah.
builds collaboration. Like for example, solving puzzle, you may want to invite your friends, and that builds your
Absolutely.
collaborative skills.
Absolutely. So it's about socializing, right? And when we talk about emotional regulation, why do we say emotional regulation?
Basically, child knows if I'm going to lose, it has to be accepted by me. I mean, winning and losing, a child will be more stronger with the
Absolutely,
acceptance of loss.
absolutely. And emotional regulation also means, as I just said, when a child finishes the puzzle, it's such a moment for them. So that moment is like a celebrating moment, right? So they understand, okay, it's not always failure. And I just said in the slide before that they will try again because they don't want to fail, right? So that trial and doing it again is such a moment. So, you know, why I would say this, that even Harvard says that play is an engine for early childhood education, and reward is on finishing work, right? So play isn't learning, it is absolutely, play is not a learning break from the learning, but it is learning. It is a form of learning, right? So here now we would talk about the types of play. So I have listed some types of plays here. It's physical, social, thinking, creative, pretend, constructive. Um, any other form anybody would want to mention? I think
Messy
we are
play,
all. Yes, Sanjana?
Replay. Replay.
messy play.
Sensory play.
Yes.
Hmm.
Any other? Sanjana was saying something. Can I come again?
Sorry, I was mentioning messy play, which is part of what Harsh said. Sensory
Yes.
play, yeah.
Yes. It's sensory play. And
And we can go ahead with a free play too. I mean, whatever they are willing to go ahead.
absolutely. I think Barkha remembers we spoke about this last time in the last webinar, that sometimes free play is also important.
Very important,
So
right?
yes, so physical play definitely is everybody will talk about, running, climbing, building, strength. It's about coordination. Then creativity is about drawing, music. Normally when we talk about creativity, what comes to our mind is mostly art, right? But I don't think it's only art. It's about music, it's about dance, it's their expressions, there's what they want to tell about themselves. They can work through creativity, right? Then socializing is what even Sanjana just now said, that when we go out or we call our friends to play, that's socializing. So that's again a very important part. Then pretend play we've already spoken about, and thinking is through puzzles, through games, being strategic, understanding persistence. Then constructive play can be through blocks, and I think everybody in the classroom is already doing blocks and all these things, right? And as we always say, that even Barkha just mentioned, free play versus structured play. We did this last time also, and it's so important again for a parent to know that what is free play and what is structured play. So when we talk about free play, a child takes the lead, right? Because they are not told what to play, right? Then the child creates the rules. So when we do a game or a puzzle, we read a manual, right? But when we leave it to them, that you do it your way, it is so important the child will create their own rule. Sometimes what happens is when we are doing a puzzle with the children, we normally tell them, the first thing comes out from us is that segregate the colors, right, in different 4 sets. But when a child does it, maybe he has other strategies. So let them do it the way they want to do it. Then they have open-ended explorations. When we talk about open-ended explorations, I mean is that, the child, when they are working on a puzzle or a game, they have open-ended questions. So let them ask questions. Exploration actually means asking, provoking them to understand what they want from that particular thing, right? Then builds creativity. Sometimes what happens is, I have seen with the little children, they will pick up a block and fix it somewhere else, and they will say, that's my painting. So that's creativity. Maybe the child is happy to have that as a piece of art. So let them create the way they want to. And there is no right and wrong in that outcome. We should never tell the children, no, you've done it wrong. For me, in my dictionary, for the children, there is nothing to say no. I feel it's always a yes for them. So let them do the way they want to, until and unless they are not, hurting themselves. So that's the idea about free play, right? Then structured play, what happens is when a child, the parent is, or the adult or the teacher is telling them what activity to do. And normally in the classes, this is what happens. And then there is a specific learning. So we talk about, if I talk about even a worksheet for that matter, in the classroom, what happens is we will give them an apple and we will tell them, okay, color. And the first thing comes out, it bahar nahi nikalna, color bahar nahi nikalna. That's what comes out at first. But that's okay. If it is coming out, let them. They will automatically understand their spatial understanding of coloring the apple inside. Well, so let them do it the way they want to do it. Don't give them specific instructions, right? And then shared and purposeful activity. So I've also noticed in when we're talking about shared and purposeful activity is that when we are talking about sharing, first thing, I don't believe in sharing. I feel it's so important for a child to take turns instead of sharing. We should understand when a child is doing an activity and suddenly a teacher comes and says, "Beta, share, give it to your friend." Do you even realize that at that pretty moment, the child is learning something on that? He is maybe strategizing, he's thinking, and suddenly we come out and we say, "Okay, share." That moment has gone, the learning has gone because we've asked the child to share. So don't do that. Then it's about cooperation. What I just said, it's about cooperation, learning how to take turns. Like we just spoke about Ludo. So it's more about taking turns. It's not about sharing, right? So when you're doing something, let them take a turn. So actually, children need both. So I am not saying it should always be free play or it should always be structured play. So balance of each kind of play is very important, right? This is a chapter 3 for me, which is very close to me always. I think with everyday moments, everyday work at home, we can introduce play. So these are some points here. I say cooking together is so good. When a mother is cooking, she can say, "Can you give me 1 spoon of salt?" They are understanding to measure, right? When they are talking about following steps, "Can you keep the spoon in the stand?" They know that the spoon stand is for the spoons, right? Then sequencing. Can we lay the table and keep 4 plates? Isn't it? So that's so important. Again, anything else we can talk about in cooking together, which we would be learning for the children? Anything, anybody?
We can ask the child to, pretend play. They can behave like a chef. Then we
Yes,
can ask the child to touch salt and sugar, and it's a kind of sensory play, you
absolutely.
know.
Absolutely.
So then it increases the fine motor skill also. Like you said, can you keep this in the, particular stand or something? Then
Yeah,
at the same time, we can ask the child to count the number of spoons also, or to
absolutely.
count the number of bowls also.
True,
So,
true.
I mean, it's very purposeful. Lot of purposes are solved.
Yes. When it comes to sorting laundry, so I think I've given some points here. Matching socks. We are doing all that through cards. We are always doing all that through cards. But it's so good to have the children match their own socks. They are learning patterns, right? Counting items, as just Harsh just said, it's numbers and the sense of colors. So that's also sorting skills. Then comes your shopping trip. So when you're going for shopping, reading labels, that's literacy. I remember, excuse me, when we used to travel, I used to ask my children to read the hoarding. And hoarding has large letters. So it was easier for the children to recognize and it was easier for the children to read. So when you're doing shopping, it's about comparing prices, about thinking, making choices. So these are also a part of play, right? Then comes your traveling, your gardening. When we talk about gardening, it's about science, caring of plants, responsibility, patience is a life skill. So that's also a part. Then traveling, that's also important, right? I think Gurpreet wants to say something.
No, not, I just was just having that thinking.
Acha,
When
okay.
we go at we also used to read all the headings and everything. I used to count the colors of cars as well. Cars as well. How
Yes.
many cars? The
Yeah,
colors
so
of cars.
the children used to do like 2 black cars I saw. So yeah, that's so true.
it's a big car and small car.
Yeah, so that's again understanding, about the size, right? So now I come to this, that the best toys are not always toys. So
That's true. That's really true.
we've been buying so many toys for the children, and what happens, they play with those toys once or twice, as we just discussed on the previous slide. Kitchen utensils, cardboard boxes, scarves, pillows. I remember taking a bed sheet and putting it on 4 chairs and making a tent out of it. So that's play, that's so important. And I think we used to love calling our friends from the neighborhood and tell them, okay, we made a tent, why don't you all come and stay with me? Right?
Right, right.
Pajama
Playing
party.
Ghar Ghar. Right, playing Ghar Ghar
Yeah.
when we were kids.
Keeping our
Right.
dolls with that, and making our friends babies and playing like that. So that's also a
I
part
used
of
to
play.
make kitchen set with mud only. I used to make my own
Yeah,
kitchen set.
yeah.
Yeah, with mud.
So that's also play. So then comes your leaves and nature. That's the best way of learning. They understand sorting, counting, observing things. Then they know the science and art of where leaves comes from, when they fall. So all that is understanding and learning. So here comes the last chapter, which we say is the adult's role in play. Is when children don't need adults to entertain them, they need adults to make space for them. Yeah. Why we say that? We say observe, watch without interrupting, encourage, acknowledge effort, and question, open-ended questions, spark deeper thinking and exploration. Celebrate. As I always say, please, when you end something, celebrate with the child. It is so important that the children can easily do this. And they've done that, so they should celebrate, right? Then join in. It's always good that the parent should join in their play, right? Here I questions that build thinking. So instead of asking the children, what is the color of this? A closed question with one correct answer is important, right? Instead of saying, is that right? Puts the children in a pass or a fail situation. So don't do that. Try asking what they noticed and invite observation and thinking. That's the way of playing, right? Then try asking what could have happened next, right? Like when we talk about puzzles, we can ask them, okay, what can we do next to complete this puzzle? Isn't it? So let's not give them the answers. Let's have them work on the answers, right? There's always a collaboration, home versus school. So when we talk about teachers, they should introduce new ways of play, versus where the parent should repeat at home. Then observe how a child has learned something, and have, there in the parent perspective, they should always encourage the children what they love, right? Guide their, scaffold their experiences, play alongside their child daily. So when you're talking about games and puzzles, the parent should be a part of this. Do not leave only for the children. Do not think that, okay, this is very small, I can't play this puzzle. Why? You can play the puzzle with the child. I can't play the game. Any game can be played by a parent, until and unless it's a group where adults are sitting. If 4 children are sitting and 1 adult is sitting, or 2 adults and two children are sitting, it's okay. So we should never leave that to the child. So again, as I always say, a routine or a challenge for the parents, I would say Monday, play a puzzle. Tuesday, do a pretend play with them. Wednesday, do a story time with them. Thursday, do a board game with them. And Friday, art and Saturday outdoor adventure, and then family time. So that's the routine we should always have with children, right? And then I talk about a larger challenge for the parents, where I say read together, play a board game, solve a puzzle, 15 minutes of pretend play, and 0 phones during play. So that's one thing I always do that. So here I am going to ask all the parents to accept this challenge and raise their hands that they will do this, and it will be great if the parents can play with the children, and they can always have the children play with them, not with only others, right? Then, as we just said, that play doesn't need toys always. Same way, play doesn't need money always. It can be books, it can be boxes, it can be blocks, it can be music, it can be kitchen, it can be nature, and it can be just conversation. We've discussed all these things earlier. Then definitely a final reflection from my side. One thing I will stop doing today. Let's put it on the chat box. We will take a pause, Gurpreet, for a second here. And we will say one thing I will start today and one thing we will stop doing today. So can we have all the parents to put that in the chat box?
Sure.
And always remember, parents, children never learn through worksheets only, and they do not ever learn. I mean, always remember worksheets, but one way they've played, one game, one puzzle they play, they will always remember it. Thank you so much, parents. It was wonderful to have you all.
What an insightful and thought-provoking session it has been. On behalf of Pegasus Wellbeing Club, I extended my heartfelt thanks to our wonderful speaker, Ms. Bhumika ma'am, for sharing such valuable knowledge and practical parenting insights with us today. We hope today webinar has inspired you to make play an essential part of your family's daily routine, because it we learned today a lot. By play is not just fun, it is one of the most important and powerful ways where children learn and grow. If you have any questions or would you like to know more about our program, feel free to visit our website www.pegasuswellbeing.com or connect with us for confirming your inquiries. Thank you so much. We look forward to meeting you again in our upcoming webinars. Until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep playing together. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.